y'all, we're still without power down here, but we want something good to eat. So some of our meat started thawing out, and I certainly didn't want our deer meat, our venison, to go to waste. And the package was marked deer steaks. So that's what I was gonna make, but whenever I opened up the package, it was in fact deer stew meat. So I'm gonna be making a deer stew today. But we don't have power in here, don't have the converter to plug the stove up to our generator. So I'm gonna be carrying this party outside, and we're gonna be cooking dinner on our burner outside. I've already got my deer meat seasoned. All I did was put a little bit of oil in there, a little bit of Worcestershire sauce, and then some salt, pepper, Tony's, onion powder, and garlic powder. And just toss that around. So I'm going to get my cast iron pot, and I'm going to get my meat, and I'm going to carry all this outside, and we'll start cooking. All right, well, I'm sorry that the picture is so dark. If I plug in my light, I have to have the generator running. And if the generator is on, you won't be able to hear me. So I've just got a little gas burner right here. And I'm going to light my burner. If you're using these, please be very careful with them. All right, we'll just let my pot heat up. And then I'm going to brown the deer meat that I had already seasoned. All right, our pot's heated up, so I'm just going to put our meat in here. I might have to do this in batches, I don't know. Oh, it's big enough. All right, now I'm just going to cut up an onion. It's just a small yellow onion. I'm just going to chop it up. I'm going to mince it, so I'm going to be chopping it up pretty little. Cooking outside is something we actually do a lot in Louisiana, not just when we're without lights. During the spring times and during football season and stuff like that. You know, we turn the TV on out here and have get-togethers and cook outside. A lot of the times it's the men cooking outside in Louisiana. They all get out here and drink beer. And beer ends up usually being an ingredient in whatever they're cooking. But today it's just me. And I'm not drinking beer. I got the meat out of the pot, and I've got my onions in here. And I'm just going to let them cook until the onions are ready. All right, while my onions are cooking, I'm going to peel a few carrots. I've got 4 little carrots in here. That's the only carrots I have, so that's all I'm going to be using. If you wanted to use more carrots, use more carrots. But I'm just going to peel these 4 little carrots and cut them up so that we can put them in the stew later. So our onions are done. I'm just going to put in 1/4 of a cup of flour. And when we're cooking outside in Louisiana, you definitely don't measure anything. It's just a little bit of this, a little bit of that here. Stir it around, put a little bit something else more in it. But I'm going to measure it for y'all. I know some people, they have to have measurements. So I just got my flour in there. I'm going to let that cook a minute. And then I'm going to put some garlic in. And I don't have fresh garlic today, so I'm just using the jarred minced garlic, which that's fine too. If you have fresh garlic, use fresh garlic. If you don't want garlic, don't use garlic. So I've cooked the flour just a minute. And whenever you're cooking the flour, that you want to scrape the bottom. Even when you're cooking your onions, you want to, when you stir them, you want to scrape the bottom and get all that good stuff up off the bottom. That's what makes your gravy good. Now I'm just going to put in a little bit of garlic. Now see, I have a butter knife. I don't have a measuring spoon. This is how much I'm putting in it. I'm just going to stir that around and let that cook for a minute or two. Alright, so I let our flour and our onions and garlic cook a few minutes together. Now I'm going to put in 3/4 of a cup of red wine. Like I said, a lot of times cooking outside, it's the men. So beer gets put in here. But I'm not drinking beer today. And I like wine sauce in my deer stew, so I'm going to be putting red wine. You can certainly replace this with beer or some other kind of wine. Or nothing, just broth. So I'm going to pour this in here. And deglaze our pan. You want to scrape that bottom real good and get all that good stuff off the bottom. And that smells so good. Those onions and garlic and that wine. Oh my gosh, it smells so good. So now this is like, it's real thick. That's your base for your gravy. All right, so I'm just gonna let this cook just a few minutes. And then we're gonna add our beef broth to it. And y'all could replace the deer or the venison with beef or pork. You could do chicken thighs too. I make a chicken stew like this too. I usually don't put the carrots in it though, but I do the gravy and everything the same way with it. So if you don't like deer meat or you can't get any, then just replace it with beef or pork. All right, so now I'm going to put in some beef broth. I don't have boxed beef broth. It's just regular beef broth. We'll pour this in here. And I'm probably going to put another can too. And you don't have to use broth. You can use your own homemade broth. You can use water, chicken broth, beer. I like cooking with broth, obviously, because I use it in everything. I think it just gives it a lot more flavor. All right, we're just going to stir that around and bring that up to a boil. And we're going to put our meat back in. You want to scrape, when you put that liquid in there, make sure you scrape the bottom real good to get all that stuff up off the bottom that's stuck to it. When you're cooking rice and gravy, you want that stuff to stick to the bottom. You don't want it to burn, but you do want it to stick. You just got to keep scraping the bottom. That's why we use these flat spoons here in Louisiana, because we can scrape the bottom of our pots when we're making gravy. We're going to put our meat back in here. This cut of deer meat that I've got, I think it was steaks, and they just cut it up because it's very tender, because I tasted a piece. So I'm not going to be cooking this as long as I would for real stew meat. Oh, where's the spoon? All right, I'm going to go ahead and put my carrots in there too. I just cut them up, you know, in big pieces, but you cut them up however you want to. If you're cutting them up in smaller pieces, you'll want to put them in later. So this has come to a boil, so I'm just going to cover it and turn the heat down. And I'm just going to let it simmer till the meat's done. And in a minute, I'm going to cut up some potatoes to put in it, but we won't put those in until till closer for it to be done. All right, so our stew's been cooking for 30 minutes. And it looks like it's pretty close to being done. I've got four little gold potatoes that I've peeled, and I'm going to cut them up in just quarters and put them in our stew. And you don't have to put potatoes in here if you don't like potatoes. Or if you want more potatoes, put more potatoes. All right, just going to put our potatoes right in there. Stir that around. All right. We're going to cover that back up and let that finish cooking as soon as the potatoes are tender. And like I said, I cooked the stew. It was actually 35 minutes that I simmered it from when I put the meat and the carrots and everything in it. So I cooked it for 35 minutes. And I'm going to cook these potatoes about 10 minutes or so until they're tender, but I'll let you know how long. And I got my water going from rice. All right, well, thank y'all so much for joining me. I'm sorry about the background noise. That's our generator. We are still waiting on lights, but I'm hoping maybe by the morning we will have lights. This is nothing fancy or anything like that. It's what we call camp food. It's stuff that you would cook outside or cook at the camp, the hunting camp or something. It's like I said, it's not fancy, but it is very good, and it will fill you up, I promise. So that's exactly what I'm about to go do. I'm going to go eat this, and then I'm going to boil some water so that I can take a bath. And I'll see y'all next time.